In the heat of World War II, the United States military was desperately searching for a technological advantage that could end the conflict overnight. They were exploring the fringes of theoretical physics, looking for ways to make their warships invisible to enemy radar. But according to a terrifying legend, one of these experiments went catastrophically wrong, breaking the laws of nature and reality itself. This is the story of the Philadelphia experiment, a secret operation that allegedly turned a massive warship into a ghost and its crew into living nightmares. The center of this mystery is the USS Eldridge, a Cannon-class destroyer escort that was docked at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard in the summer of 1943. The goal of the project, reportedly codenamed Project Rainbow, was to use massive electromagnetic coils to bend light and radar waves around the ship. Theoretically, this would create a mirage effect, making the vessel impossible to see or detect by German U-boats. Some even claim that the great Albert Einstein was involved in the project, providing the calculations for a unified field theory that linked gravity and electromagnetism. On July 22, 1943, the first official test began. The massive generators on the Eldridge were hummed to life, creating a powerful magnetic field. Witnesses claimed they saw a strange greenish-blue fog begin to envelop the hull of the ship. Then, in a flash of light, the Eldridge reportedly vanished from sight for several minutes. When the generators were shut down and the fog cleared, the ship reappeared, but something was wrong. The crew on board felt nauseous and disoriented. Despite the side effects, the military was thrilled with the results. They decided to push the experiment even further. On October 28, 1943, the final and most infamous test took place. This time, the objective was total invisibility. The generators were pushed to their absolute limits. The green fog returned, thicker and more vibrant than before. In an instant, the USS Eldridge did not just become invisible to radar. It vanished entirely from the Philadelphia harbor in a blinding burst of blue light. For several minutes, the space where the ship had been was empty. The water sat still, as if the vessel had never existed. At the same time, miles away in Norfolk, Virginia, sailors at the naval base reported seeing a ship that looked exactly like the Eldridge appear out of nowhere. It lingered in the Virginia waters for several minutes before vanishing again, as if it were a glitch in the fabric of the world. Back in Philadelphia, the USS Eldridge finally reappeared. But the celebration quickly turned into a scene of unimaginable horror. The boarding party that went to check on the crew found a ship of screams and madness. The electromagnetic field had done more than hide the ship. It had altered the molecular structure of everything on board. The most horrific reports claimed that several sailors had been fused directly into the steel structure of the ship. Men were found with their limbs and torsos sticking out of the metal decks and bulkheads, as if they had melted into the ship and then solidified. Others were simply missing, vanished into thin air, never to be seen again. The survivors who were still physically intact had lost their minds. They were incoherent, suffering from extreme psychological trauma. Some sailors reportedly burst into flames for no reason, while others would occasionally become unfrozen or invisible in front of their families years later. The military immediately shut down the project, classified all documents, and supposedly forced the witnesses to undergo brainwashing or sign silence agreements. The USS Eldridge was eventually transferred to the Greek Navy, and any physical evidence of the modifications was supposedly stripped away. The story of the experiment might have remained hidden forever if not for a series of strange letters received in 1955. Morris Jessup, an astronomer and UFO researcher, received a letter from a man calling himself Carlos Miguel Allende. Allende claimed to have witnessed the Eldridge vanish and reappear while he was serving on a nearby merchant vessel, the SS Andrew Forsyth. His letters were filled with bizarre details about unified field theory, alien technology, and the fate of the fused sailors. Jessup was initially skeptical, but he was soon summoned to the Office of Naval Research to discuss a copy of his own book that had been heavily annotated by someone with deep knowledge of the experiment. Tragically, Jessup died under mysterious circumstances shortly after. His death ruled a suicide, though many believe he was silenced for getting too close to the truth. The Philadelphia experiment has since become a cornerstone of modern conspiracy culture, bridging the gap between military history and science fiction. But is there any truth to it? Skeptics and naval historians point to several holes in the story. They argue that the USS Eldridge wasn't even in Philadelphia during the dates mentioned in the legend. Official deck logs show the ship was in New York and later on escort duty in the Atlantic during the fall of 1943. Furthermore, the crew of the SS Andrew Furuseth, the ship Allende claimed to be on, denied ever seeing anything unusual. Scientists explain that invisibility back then likely referred to degaussing, a real process used to make ships invisible to magnetic mines. Degaussing involves running electric cables around the hull to cancel out the ship's magnetic field. But it has nothing to do with making a ship vanish into another dimension. However, the believers in the unknown archive argue that official logs can be easily forged or altered by the government. They point to the Montauk Project, another alleged secret program that supposedly continued the work started in Philadelphia. The Montauk Project was said to involve time travel, mind control, and contact with extraterrestrial beings at an abandoned Air Force station on Long Island. Proponents claim that the Eldridge didn't just travel to Norfolk, it traveled through time, briefly connecting with a future experiment in 1983. This time bridge is what supposedly caused the sailors to become displaced in space and matter. The imagery of men embedded in steel remains one of the most haunting descriptions in the history of the unexplained. It touches on a deep fear of technology spiraling out of control, of humans playing God with forces they do not understand. If the experiment happened, it suggests that our reality is far more fragile than we care to admit. It implies that the solid walls of our world can be turned into liquid with the right frequency or magnetic pulse. Despite the lack of hard evidence, the story refuses to die, spawning movies, books, and endless online investigations. The late Al Bielek came forward in the 1990s, claiming to be a survivor of the experiment who had been sent into the future and had his memory suppressed. His detailed accounts added layers of complexity to the story, including the involvement of Nikola Tesla before his death. Critics call these men frauds looking for fame, but the consistency of their stories continues to captivate the public. The Office of Naval Research still maintains a standard fact sheet denying that any such experiment ever took place. They state that the laws of physics as understood then and now would not allow for such a phenomenon. But in the world of secret black projects, the official word is often seen as a cover for a deeper, darker reality. Could the government have perfected this technology and kept it hidden for 80 years? Are there ships in the modern Navy that can slip in and out of our dimension at will? The Philadelphia experiment serves as a cautionary tale about the price of progress. It asks the question, how much are we willing to sacrifice for the sake of total military dominance? The screams of the men fused to the Eldridge echo through the decades as a reminder of the human cost of forbidden knowledge. Whether it was a massive hoax, a misunderstood degaussing test, or a genuine tear in the fabric of space-time, the legend has a life of its own. The green fog of Philadelphia has become a symbol of the unknown, a mist that hides the truth from those who seek it. In the Unknown Archive, we analyze the legends to find the kernels of truth that change our perspective. The USS Eldridge was eventually sold for scrap in the 1990s, taking any remaining physical clues to the shipyard to be melted down. But the story cannot be melted. It remains solid in the minds of those who believe the government is hiding the impossible. The sailors who suffered on that ship, if they existed, are the ultimate casualties of the secret war. They are the men who walked through walls and paid with their souls. As we look at the modern advancements in cloaking technology and quantum physics, the Philadelphia experiment seems less like a myth and more like a premature discovery. The line between science and magic is often just a matter of time and security clearance. The Eldridge may be gone, but the questions it raised continue to drift through the halls of history. If you ever see a strange green mist on the water, remember the destroyer that vanished in 1943. Thank you for visiting the Unknown Archive. Some secrets are better left in the shadows of the past.